After the meditation, usually we spend few minutes to share and talk some Dhamma. And I wasn't here for the last few months, and I'm not sure what things that you have been discussing. So I'll start with a short explanation of the Dhamma, and after that, if there's any questions or anything that you would like to share, so I would like to open the session for you. So there is a statement of the Buddha when the monks ask from the Buddha the whole, if he can summarize the whole teaching, whatever he has been teaching for the 45 years, the Buddha said, I'm here to teach you only two things. The origin of suffering and the cessation of suffering. This is the actual word of the Buddha. So he said, even though I have been teaching many discourses, many teachings on many different subjects, my whole attention and focus and purpose is to teach you the arising and cessation of suffering. And that is very interesting, because when we read the discourses of the Buddha, there are thousands of them. If you can see these red books over here, all are the discourses of the Buddha. Like there are thousands of them. I remember a story. Once there was a professor. He was, maybe you have heard about this, he was on a cruise, on a vacation, and he was from a very famous university, and he was a very famous scholar. When he was in that ship, there was an old man who was a cleaner, and his job was to clean the ship. Once when this old man was there, this professor noticed him and talked with him and asked, do you know about stars? And this old man replied, I haven't learned about them. My whole life has been dedicated to cleaning. The only thing that I know is how to clean. And this professor said, if I divide your life into 4 parts, if you don't know about stars, the moon and the sun, part of your life is empty and not meaningful. And this old man was so disappointed and worried about himself. Next day, again this professor met this old man and asked, do you know about the sea? And this old man replied, even though I am in a ship in the middle of the ocean, I don't know about the sea. I know only little things. And this professor was talking about there are many different species and different part of this ocean, many different things. And if you don't know about this, another part of your life is empty and less meaningful. And this old man again was so disappointed and worried about himself. And the third day, this professor again asked a question. do you know about the ship? And this old man said, I only know how to clean. I don't know anything about a ship and how it's made and what's going on. And this man said, another part of your life is empty and less meaningful. And then only one part is left. So one day, the next day, this old man was running towards this professor, and this professor was surprised to see this old man is very frightened, and he was scared, and he was running towards him. And then he asked, Professor, do you know how to swim? And then he said, I don't know. I know all these subjects and everything, I don't know how to swim. And then the professor asked, why? There is a huge storm is coming, and it is certain that the ship will be broken into pieces in a moment. If you don't know how to swim, all your life will be empty. And then the professor was very surprised to hear this from this old man. The interesting part of this story is when it compares to this particular part of the teachings of the Buddha. In our life, we learn lots of things, and we feel that we are rich with so many subject matters and lots of things in our life. But according to Dhamma, if we don't know the arising of our life and how this comes into being and how it passes away, the cessation of this, no matter we learn about Buddhism, the Buddha, or the enlightened beings, and all these things, we may not know the answer for our own problem. And that is where we feel the need of Dhamma. When there is that hardness, when there is that suffering, when there is that difficulties in life, when we don't know how to face them, how to handle them, how to embrace them, and how to live with them, the Buddha says that life become very a kind of a burden to oneself, and that person go through enormous suffering. So therefore, the purpose of learning Dhamma, to understand our own suffering and how it come into being and the way it can pass away from our mind. So when it comes to this particular part of the teaching, Buddha has explained in many different levels how this mind is working. Mind is the only thing, even though we study for 100 years, we may not able to understand and find the exact way how this mind works and what is it. We may study some other subject, but it's not easy to understand this mind. Sometimes we feel, I know how my mind is, how it works, by knowing our likes and dislikes, what we hate and we like. But when there are certain situations arises in our life, we feel like I don't know damn thing about my mind, because it tried to take the whole control of our mind and ourselves. Once Buddha said, um, whatever we see outside of ourselves in the world, it is not something that creates suffering in our life or difficulties in our life. It is our interpretation towards the external experiences we have in life that create those burdens and difficulties in life. The word suffering in teaching is the word used is dukkha, and that has the connotation of the nature of impermanence. Whatever impermanence is dukkha. That's how the Buddha has explained it. Not whatever is impermanence is suffering, because suffering has a different connotation. The word which is very close to this particular part is impermanent. Whatever impermanent is suffering or dukkha. So why he said that is because we have different experiences in life. We have happy experiences and unhappy experiences. And there are neutral experiences as well. Sometimes we don't know how to name those feelings. We feel things, but we don't know what name we should give to those feelings. However, mainly the very obvious experiences we have is happy feelings and unhappy feelings and experiences. Both are under the nature of impermanence. So therefore, happy feelings, happy experiences, unhappy experiences, both positive or negative, are in the process of impermanence. And the happiness and suffering or unhappiness being created in our life based on our own interpretation towards that. Some people may like let's say winter. Some people may not like winter. Some people may hate it. Ultimately, what creates the difference is our own interpretation towards the external situation. Not the external situation brings that experience, but our own interpretation towards that create the difference. It is similar to every experiences we have in life. And that is the root of our problems and our difficulties in mind. But mind does not want to accept it. And therefore we take that attention to the external situations and we start blaming and criticizing. And then if something that we like, we rejoice there, we try to have them and have them more. If something going against our own interpretation under what we like, don't like, and then we criticize, we reject, we hate. Ultimately, everything takes place here in our mind. So this is what we try to understand in meditation. Naturally, our mind is focused to the outside world. In meditation, we try to bring it inward. And the mind which is outward, we try to minimize that and bring it inward. The more and more we bring that to ourselves, to inward, and more we understand our experiences. the more and more we understand how our mind is reacting to the external situations. And this is the purpose of meditation. When we know that, when we have that awareness more and more, the external situation may not be that bad in our life. When we know how to control this, whether the external situation is in the same manner, it won't be a problem for us. It won't be a difficulty for oneself. And that is what we do in meditation. In other words, what we try to do in meditation is to bring unconscious to the consciousness. The mind which is going outwards and which is always looking for things outside, it's most of the time is unconsciously doing that. Because our mind has trained in a certain way and our mind has lots of information. You know, we don't know how much information we have, memories. Right? When we are in contact with something we don't have any idea, at least we try to make sense of that by combining our memory. It can be something like this, right? So this is how our mind works. So that there are lots of information and memories, and we try to combine them all the time, and it most of the time become an unconscious process. So when this unconscious process is going on more time in our life, let's say if we have 24 hours a day, the time that we are sleeping, we don't know what's going on. The time that we are aware, at least the time that we try to do things, right? Even in that time, if we try to reflect on what we really did today, from the morning to this moment, I don't know how many things that we can think of what we have actually has done. If we reflect yesterday, day before yesterday, last week, it's so hard to bring our total awareness to what happened. Because it has been an unconscious process in our life. But whatever we did, giving our full attention, we remember them. It's just like when we drive, let's say, going to Toronto. Once we are in Toronto, we may not remember everything that we passed. What we remember is what we have given our attention. Another thing, everything that we passed is out of our memory. There's no clue about anything that we passed. So therefore, what we do in meditation, we train our mind to become conscious of ourselves, conscious of what is really going on here. It can be sadness, it can be happiness, it can be whatever in mind. We try to be conscious of it. The more we become conscious of our own experiences, our own interpretation, our own happiness, unhappiness, we know a way to control our emotion, positive emotion and negative emotion, without letting negative emotion to proliferate. We know how to reduce that amount of unhappiness and suffering in life and increase happiness of our life. There is a beautiful word in Dhamma, it is called in Pali, prapancha or papancha. In Sanskrit it is called prapancha, In Pali it's called papancha. The meaning is proliferation. It is a mental activity. We proliferate our own experiences over and over again. And that creation of mind is called papancha. Mean we multiplying our experiences. It is good when we multiply our happiness, but it is bad when we multiply our unhappiness. Right? So for example, let's say when someone blames us, even though that person is in absence of us, our mind is multiplying that experience. The more and more that mind is in that process, the mind is creating that negative vibration, negative energy. So in mindfulness, in meditation, we become mindful of that papancha, the process of proliferation, and we try to turn towards that positive side. So therefore, the more and more we try to be with ourselves, we are trying to reduce the amount of unhappiness and suffering in life, and we are increasing happiness and joy in our life. When one knows this, it's even though we may not know everything, according to Dhamma, the Buddha says that person knows everything. And it is very interesting. And if you think about it, it becomes a very unique part of our life. Any questions, anything to share?
May I say something?
Yeah.
So what you're saying, pardon me, is that, our minds recall, because we have memory, right? And what I have learned in my studies is that the negative part of our ego is not who we are. The positive is the wholesome, the positive, whatever words you want to use. So a lot of times when we ruminate, we'll be ruminating negative experiences that have happened in our life, and some people have had some pretty serious stuff, So what I'm trying to say is, that experience, say somebody recalls something very negative, is actually the negativity, which is that part of the ego, which is really the illusion of self. Okay. Think about it.
Yeah, so as you said, it is about our egoic mind is, or in other words, self-centered thinking is trying to name our own experiences as mine, myself, and as an entity of ourself, which is sometimes we don't want to let go of them because our egoic thinking create kind of a space in ourselves to name them as mine and myself, and we try to have them as our own treasures. But that thinking is multiplying our suffering. Yes, it is indeed not easy. It's a very challenging to oneself when someone is there, because sometimes people are not aware of it and it's happening. And it is not that they try to do it purposely, but that's how our mind is working. But when it comes to Dhamma, it is our own delusional way of thinking. It can be fixed. And
well, and I was just going to say that's how mindfulness really kicks in and is really your medicine there. Very important to know, your states of mind. I think it's really important. Meditation is really good because it has helped me stay focused. But I think what's really important is to remain as calm as you can. I mean, I'm retired now, lucky me. But I know it's harder when people are working and they're in situations where you're working with other people and they're not easy to work with, But I think if you can keep a really calm mind most of the time and have your mindfulness there, don't be doing too much in the daytime either, or you get a restless mind and it just sort of dominoes. This is my experience anyways for myself, and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. That's why meditation is such a good thing. It really is.
Yeah. Any other questions? Anything to share? Were you somebody raising their hand? I think no. Okay, so I think we can conclude the session tonight. So at the end we read these words on loving kindness. Let's read together. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, free from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Okay, thank you for joining the meditation.